Hey guys, welcome back to the Speaker's Edge podcast, the podcast designed specifically to help you learn from some of the world's very best speakers and communicators so that you can master your message, inspire your audience every single time you speak. I'm your host for this podcast, Roddy Galbraith, and I'm delighted you've chosen to join us in this episode 9, where we're talking about the 4 key principles for infinite growth as a speaker. Infinite growth. You can keep developing, keep growing as a speaker and a communicator and never run out of runway. Isn't that nice? Now, it doesn't matter where you're actually starting from. You can increase your success whether you're a complete beginner or whether you've been speaking for years, or most of us probably somewhere in the middle. You heard the Chinese proverb, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. But if you didn't plant a tree 20 years ago, the second best time is right now. Don't not do it just because you didn't do it back then. The next best time is to do it right now. Well, I think it's the same with our speaking, isn't it? The best time to have started working on your speaking would probably have been when you were young. For some of you, it might be 20 years ago. For some of you, it might be 50 years ago. It doesn't matter. When you were 10 or 11 or 12, that would have been a great time to start working on your speaking. But if you didn't and you haven't, the second best time is right now. So that's what we're going to look at today, how we can do that. But before we dig into that, if you haven't downloaded the companion resources, you can go to maxwellleadership.com/the Speaker's Edge and download the resources. And we would love it if you follow, rate, and review the show as well. Okay, so how can we be more successful then? How can we have more success with our speaking? Well, John says that everything worthwhile, and success is worthwhile, I think, isn't it? So everything worthwhile is uphill. So it's going to be a climb, and it's not just uphill at the beginning and then it's going to be plain sailing. He says it's uphill all the way. It's never downhill. It's always uphill. Success is always uphill. Anything worthwhile is always uphill. So we've got to be very intentional, because it doesn't happen on its own, does it? I love Earl Nightingale's definition of success. He said, success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. The progressive realization of a worthy ideal. That's nice, isn't it? Because if we've got some kind of worthy ideal, and it's up to us to pick what we think is worthy of our time and our effort, of our life, because we're going to be trading our life for this worthy ideal, aren't we? So we want to pick something that's worthy of us. If we decide what that is, we pick our worthy ideal, then success is progressively realizing that ideal or making progress. If we're progressively making progress towards that worthy ideal, then we're successful. I love that, because it's not saying you're only successful when you get there. You're successful if you're making progress towards it. You're successful if you're growing. So it's really, really good. So we can engage in that process if we can make progress, not the destination, but just in the journey. Success is in the pursuit. So success really, if you think about it like that, success really is growth. So growth is a process. It's not something that just happens, boom, in a day and that's it, by magic, and then it's done. It's progressive, isn't it? A tree doesn't suddenly transmute from a teeny little sapling into a giant oak tree. It grows progressively, little by little, through an orderly sequence of growth. And if we're going to grow as a speaker and a communicator, it's going to happen in the same way, through an orderly sequence of growth. So the more we engage in the process that leads to the growth, the more we're going to grow. And if we take the insistence of being perfect right from the beginning, if we remove that pressure, take that pressure off of ourselves, then we really can enjoy the process. We can enjoy the journey. So why not decide right now? Why don't you decide that you're going to get really good at this? You're going to get really good at this. I always think it's worth reminding ourselves that just how important speaking and communicating is as a skill. It's a skill that is going to help everyone pretty much, no matter what you're doing in every area of life, because pretty much all the time we're interacting with other people and we're trying to influence other people. Because we're social beings, we do so much of that. If we can get better at that, then to a very large extent, that's getting better at life. We're getting better at life. So we're going to be doing this. We're going to be speaking and communicating. We're going to be doing it for the rest of our life. So we might as well make a decision that we're going to get better as we do it. We're going to decide, in fact, that we're going to get really good at this. I think that's a smart decision. And if we open our eyes, then we're going to see more and more opportunities to engage in speaking, maybe standing up and speaking in front of other people, maybe small groups, maybe large groups. The opportunities are around us all the time. If you look, if you're willing to embrace them, then you'll find that you can grow through them. Now, you're not going to do it perfectly first time, of course. No one does. John says no one's good at anything the first time, which is nice to know, really, isn't it? Because that's a great let-off. We're not going to do it perfectly first time. But the more we do it, the better we'll get at it. And with speaking on anything helps us get better generally at our speaking. Just like if you were learning to play the piano, any song that you were experimenting with, any tune that you were practicing is going to help you become a better player, isn't it? You'd gradually get better at playing the piano by working on lots of different songs, lots of different tunes. Well, it's the same with your speaking. It doesn't actually matter what you're speaking on. Everything you're speaking on is helping you become a better speaker and communicator. So little and often is all it really takes to keep growing. And if you keep growing, then it's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time. You may not be good enough now to fulfill your dreams, but if you keep growing, you will at some point. So if you're growing, then it's just a matter of time. So little and often is also a lot less stressful than trying to do it all in one go. Maybe you were the sort of person that did all of your cramming the night before your exams when you were at college or when you were at school, and maybe that worked for you. I don't know. Maybe it didn't. But it's stressful either way, isn't it? Whereas little by little, especially if you enjoy the journey of little by little, it's a much better way, I think, to get there. So why not make a decision that you're going to get really good at this? Decision really is the starting point, isn't it? Decision is facing in a new direction. I was listening to one of Jim Rohn's tapes years and years and years ago, and he said, if you make a decision, then that's a big thing. He said, imagine you're trying to get healthy. If you make a decision that you're going to eat an apple a day, and that's part of your health plan, and then on that day you eat an apple, well, that's only one apple. But if you have one the next day, now you're off in a whole new direction. Isn't that good? You're moving in a different direction. You're on a growth path then. You've got a plan. Decision is the start. Decision is the start of that, to face in a different direction. And it gives us great hope, doesn't it? But we're only actually going to grow, if you think about it, if we stay on that path and if we keep moving forwards. But it starts with decision. So make a decision that you're going to get really, really good as a speaker and communicator. And if you stick at it, it compounds significantly, and then the growth becomes exponential over time. John Maxwell says, never underestimate that. Never underestimate the compounding effect of consistency. Never underestimate the compounding effect of consistency. What does that actually mean? Well, it means that if you stick at it, the longer you stick at it, the better and better it gets. More and more and more, building on what went before. It keeps getting better and better and better. And little and often is much better than trying to do it all in one go, cramming 10 hours into one day, and then you end up exhausted and depleted, and then you give up, and then you don't want to go back to it anymore, so you don't do anymore, and then all of that time is actually wasted. But if you can just find a little bit of time on a regular basis every day, ideally, whatever you can manage, you decide what that is. You decide how much time you can commit to, but little by little adds up to a lot over time. And it's much more fun. Now, along these lines, Jim Rohn had a great formula for success. He said, success is just a few acts of self-discipline, practiced daily over a reasonable period of time. So let's look at the first part of this. Success is just a few. Just a few. So we're not talking about everything all at once. We're not talking about 100 hours a week. We're not talking about a 5-day intensive boot camp and then nothing at all. It's just a few. Just a few. We're not talking about all day, every day. We're talking about just a few things that we can do that are going to move us nearer towards our goal. Remember, this needs to fit in with your life. Success is really a marathon, not a sprint, isn't it? We're talking about changing our lifestyle. We're talking about adapting to different habits that we can incorporate into our life and then living that way so that we're gradually getting better and better and better, and that never stops. So we need just a few things. Just a few. That's part one. Then part two, just a few what? Well, acts of self-discipline. Just a few acts of self-discipline. Why are they acts of self-discipline? Well, because you're probably not always going to want to do them. It's probably not always going to be convenient. There's probably going to be other things that are competing for your time, but you want to try and find a way to develop the discipline to stick at them. Successful people do the things unsuccessful people don't like to do. I forget who it was that said that, but that's good, isn't it? Successful people do the things that unsuccessful people don't like to do. Well, why do successful people like doing them? Well, they don't like doing them either, but they do them because they need to be done. And they keep doing them until it becomes a habit. Then they don't need to think about it anymore. If you think about it, a habit is something that we do without thinking. So if we have successful habits, habits that are going to lead us to do these few acts of self-discipline every day, whether we feel like it or not, if we're in the habit of doing them, then we'll do them. We don't need to think about it. We just get on with it. If we can find meaning in them and link, and I think that's the key, if we can link the activities that we're engaging in to meaning, i.e. achieving some goal that really makes a difference to us, then we're much more likely to stick at it and enjoy the process. So part 2, acts of self-discipline. Another way of thinking about this is good speakers speak when they feel like it. Great speakers speak whether they feel like it or not. Good speakers speak when they want to. Great speakers speak whether they want to or not. And you could substitute any particular skill for speakers there. It could be football, it could be swimmers. Great swimmers swim whether they feel like it or not. Good singers sing when they want to. Great singers sing whether they want to or not. You can substitute anything. Writers, if you're a writer, if you're looking to write your book, then great writers write whether they feel like it or not. Good writers write when they feel motivated to do so. There's a big difference between the two, isn't there? Now, if you think about it, if you want to write a book, there's no real secret to that, is there? If you want to write a 50,000 word book, that's just 1,000 words a week. If you can write 1,000 words a week, then you're going to have your book in a year. That's just 200 words a day, Monday to Friday. If you can write 200 words a day on Monday, same again on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, that's 1,000 words in that week. Do that for a year. You're going to have 50,000 word book at the end of the year. And then you say, well, that's quite a long time. I really want my book immediately. So I'm not going to do it. Well, if you're not going to do it, then you're not going to have the book at all, are you? The time's going to pass anyway. You may as well do something that's going to lead you towards the thing that you want, your worthy ideal. If that's a book, then great, that's a book. If that's a keynote that converts people into your one-to-one program, great. The time's going to pass anyway. We might as well grow. But we don't want to overwhelm ourselves by trying to do it all in one go, little by little. Is the secret here, as Jim Rohn says. Now, if you're anything like me, this quote by Zig Ziglar may be helpful to you. He said, do what you should do when you know you should do it, whether you feel like it or not. Do what you know you should do when you know you should do it, whether you feel like it or not. And here's the clincher for me, even on special occasions. Even on special occasions you want to do it. Then success is practically guaranteed, isn't it? If you do the things you know you should do, when you know you should do them, whether you feel like it or not, even on special occasions, then you're going to do them all the time. You're not going to manufacture special occasions to excuse yourself the effort. In his book Atomic Habits, James Clear says that the most important workout you do is the one that you were going to skip, but you go and you just do a really bad workout, a weak workout. I call it a tickle visit, where you've got to go and do something and then you can leave whenever you want to after that. So you turn up and you do almost nothing, but at least you went. Why is it the most important one? Because you maintain your streak of going. Whereas if you don't go and then you don't go to the next one, then suddenly it's much more difficult to get back. So part 1 then, success is just a few. Part 2, acts of self-discipline. Part 3, practiced daily. Every single day. When John teaches this, often he says people come to him afterwards and say, well, what do you mean by every day? When you say we should do this every day, what do you mean? He says, well, what do you think I mean? I mean every day, every day. It's so much easier to stick at it when we do it every single day, isn't it? If it's once a week or once every 2 weeks or once a month, then we don't really get in the same kind of habit. You heard the story about the lady who was a concert pianist, and after a great concert that she'd given, a lady came up to her and said, I would give anything to play like you. You're so lucky. And she said, no, you wouldn't. Otherwise, you already would. Sure, you'd give anything apart from 7 hours of practice a day, 7 days a week for 20 years. Yeah, apart from that, you'd probably give relatively little. Otherwise, you already would. And it's true, isn't it? We see the end result of a great deal of hard work like that and we think, oh, they're lucky. They're just naturally talented in this area. But it's not true. We don't see the process that they've been through to get there. We just see the end result. And we assume that they've got some special talent that we don't have, when actually they've worked very, very hard to get there. Imagine that you're on a desert island and you're stuck there, and so you've got to make a living for yourself, you've got to survive, and you get quite good at it, and you're quite kind of ingenious, and you end up with a tap in your hut that you've built with a straw roof to keep out of the sun, and the tap, when you turn it, water comes out of it. And somebody else that's been living on the island comes to your hut and comes in and sees this tap that you turn and water comes out of it, and they're like, oh my goodness, you're so lucky to have that tap. You're so lucky to have that tap. And you're like, well, no, not really. I spent 9 months digging a reservoir at the top of the mountain so that it would fill with rainwater. And then I got bamboo that I hollowed out to make pipes that I ran all the way down and buried them in the ground and connected them to this makeshift tap so that when I turn the tap, the water flows all the way down through. It's got nothing to do with the tap. I'm not lucky. It's not a magic tap. It's a great deal of hard work, an enormous amount of hard work that then leads to this end result. But they don't see all of the hard work. They don't see the process. They just see the end result and think, oh gosh, you're so lucky. We tend to overestimate natural talent, and we tend to underestimate the work that people who seem naturally talented have put into it. Susan told me about a documentary that she saw of a pop video that Beyonce was making. And in the video, she's singing, and then she turns around, looks at the camera, blows a perfect bubblegum bubble that bursts, and then she carries on. And it looks really cool. It looks really cool. But on the documentary, they explain that that was 40 takes it took for her to get it right. 40 different takes. But you don't see the 40 takes, you just see the end result in the video. So her hit rate was like one good one out of 40 that they could use. That's quite a low hit rate when you think about it, isn't it? Now, as a speaker and a communicator, we need to be consistent. 1 out of 40 is not good enough. We need to get it right every time, don't we? If we're going to go somewhere and speak live, we need to nail it. When you see a great speaker, the secret to their success is found in their daily agenda before they get there. If you want to be a great speaker, where's the evidence? Can we see it in your daily agenda? In fact, John says that the secret to success or failure is found in your daily agenda. What are you spending your time on every day? If it's not on the thing that you want to get good at, then you're unlikely to get good at it. You'll never change your life until you change something you do every day, he says. So where's the evidence? Can we see it? If you want to be a great speaker, if you want to be a great communicator, are you spending time on it? Because the more time you spend on it, then your hit rate goes up from 1 out of 40 to maybe 2 or 3 out of 40 to 10 out of 40 to 20 out of 40. And if you work hard enough at it, then you'll be able to nail it every single time, whether you feel like it or not, because you're a professional and you've done the work. John talks about developing his golf handicap. So I think he said his golf handicap was around 14 or 15. And he said to his golf coach one day, I'd like to get my handicap down to single digits. And his golf coach said, well, you can absolutely do that. Absolutely, you can do that. And he said, well, what's it going to take? He said, it's going to take about 30 hours a week. And John said, I think I'm happy with a handicap of 14 or 15. He wasn't prepared to do the work. He enjoyed playing golf, and that seemed too much like hard work. It wasn't worth it, and so he wasn't prepared to spend the time on it. So he's happy to stick with the handicap that he had. Of course, we can grow, but are we prepared to do what it takes? If we're not prepared to do what it takes every day, then there's no point in complaining, is there? So number 4 then is that we stick at this. We do these few acts of self-discipline, practice daily over a reasonable period of time. And it compounds over time. We've got to keep going long enough to give it a chance to work. Success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. If we stick at it, if we keep going, we'll progressively get better and better and better. Now, Jim Rohn actually said that the formula for failure was also very simple. All we need to do is practically the same. We just swap the few acts of self-discipline for a few errors in judgment. And then we kind of slide downhill. Rather than climbing uphill, everything worthwhile is uphill. We slide, we coast, we end up where we really don't want to be over a reasonable period of time. And just like it compounds when you're going up, it compounds when you're sliding down as well. But we don't mean to do it. It happens on its own, doesn't it? So climbing up the staircase, climbing up the hill needs to be very intentional. But when we make those errors in judgment, when we slide downhill, it happens on its own. It happens on autopilot, nothing to do with us. So what are some of those errors in judgment then? Well, I think it's as simple as, what's it going to matter if I skip it today? Can I wing it? Can I wing it? Well, I'm not a natural speaker anyway, so why bother? I might as well try and do something else. I don't actually need to get good at this. There's all kinds of things that we tell ourselves, isn't there? Everything worthwhile is uphill, but the problem is we have uphill hopes, but we have downhill habits. We're in the habit of taking it easy, taking the shortcuts and sliding downhill. That's why we need to develop that self-discipline to do those few acts that are going to take us uphill consistently, because everything worthwhile is uphill. Growth has to be intentional. We need to take control so we're not sliding downhill to where we really don't want to be. So if there's some of the errors in judgment, then what are some of the acts of self-discipline? Well, of course, it depends on your goals, doesn't it? It depends what you want to achieve. But with speaking, collecting anything interesting is a great discipline. If you look at the world from now on as, oh, I wonder if I could use that at some point in the future. Everything that happens to you, oh, I wonder if I could use that at some point in the future. Collecting story ideas, collecting interesting things that happen to you, collecting teaching pieces, insights, jokes that you might be able to tell, research that you might be able to reuse, collecting anything interesting, and then spending just a few minutes a day working on some aspect of it. Maybe it's developing some social media posts or videos. If you're a job seeker, if you're looking for a job, maybe you can think about the questions that you might be asked and then very deliberately write great answers to those questions and then practice delivering them so that you internalize them so that then they can come out in any order and it just feels like it's a part of you. Think about some of the challenges that you face. Think about the things that you're proud of. Write great answers, write great stories so you can share them very concisely and very impactfully, and get good at those, so that you can internalize them so they can come out like it's a part of you. Whatever it is that you want to get better at, you can make it a project, and then you can really excel at it and enjoy that process of growth. Now, if you're a regular listener to the show, you've heard me talk about the Maxwell Leadership Certified Team before. If you want to be a speaker, a trainer, a coach, or work on your leadership ability, then check out the Maxwell Leadership Certified Team. We've been working at it since 2010. It keeps getting better and better and better. We have around 60,000 coaches in over 168 countries around the world, I think, now. And if you're interested in developing your speaking, then it really is a no-brainer. I've been working with John on the Maxwell method of speaking since around 2010. It keeps getting better and better and better. I believe it's the best system of speaking anywhere in the world. So if you want to check it out, just go to maxwellleadership.com/speak and you can find out more. maxwellleadership.com/speak. Okay, so in this episode then, we've talked about the importance of doing a little bit every day and turning it into a habit so that success becomes effortless. You might want to just think about what those few acts of self-discipline really should be for you, whether it's speaking or any particular application of speaking or anything else. Step number 1, find a few things that you can do. Step number 2, commit to doing them. Step 3, every day, and stick at them and don't stop. Keep going and you'll keep getting better and better and better. Don't forget to download our companion guide. As I said at the beginning, go to maxwellleadership.com/the speaker's edge. Communication is a great skill to develop. It's a learnable skill, and if you keep learning, you'll keep getting better and better, and you'll learn to master your message and inspire your audience every single time you speak. Thanks for listening today. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode real soon. Take care. Lots of love. Bye-bye. God bless.